Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog called Michael's Vlog. And basically this vlog is going to talk about things that I'm interested in or things that I think are important to discuss. So right now I'm actually located in the Philippines. I'm traveling abroad. I've been here for about a year and a few months, so I am a little bit more familiar with some of the things that, go on in the Philippines. And so I'm basically going to talk about in this particular video the cost living in the Philippines. And the reason that I'm making this video is because I saw a person on YouTube that was saying that the cost of living in the Philippines is the same cost as living in the USA. And I have to 100% disagree because it really just depends on what your lifestyle is, and it also depends on where you live at. In my case, I live in Davao City, and in this particular area, there are a lot of opportunities to find a cheap place. I don't know what particular city that person lived in, but in my case, I'm going to use a reference of where I actually stay at right now. I'm not living here permanently. I'm here just temporary, and I don't know how much longer I'll remain here, but at least for right now, this is where I will be located until otherwise noted. In terms of the cost of housing, let's deal with that first off. You can find a house in, Davao that will run you anywhere from $300 to $400. I know because I'm currently staying in a house that's a two-bedroom, two-floor house that only costs about $300 in U.S., currency. Now, are you going to find a house for that same price? I can't guarantee you that. But I'm pretty confident you can find a house in a range of $300 to $500 very easily that would be very nice and will be similar to a decent quality house in the US that you could rent. Now, of course, it's going to be more expensive if you were to rent that house in the US. You would be lucky to even find a studio for $300 to $400 in the US, and you might be able to find an apartment for $500 US. But I'm talking about a decent house is where I stay at right now for around $300 a month. The toilet flushes. The electricity works. The electricity isn't a problem. But getting back to what we were talking about in terms of cost, you can buy food, for example, for very, very cheap. You can find a restaurant, where you can pay $5 or $6 and, 3 or 4 people can eat, so very, very cheap. And the food is going to taste good. You're not going to get some, nasty food with no flavor. I'm talking about, equivalent food that you could probably find in the U.S. You could find, a nice barbecue chicken place here in the Philippines and get some rice and vegetables and drinks, to go with the food. And, a family can eat for, easily for just a few dollars, okay? But you have the flip side of that. If you want to have an extravagant lifestyle, you can eat for $10 or $15 per person, if you want to do that. But that's totally up to you. But you don't have to do that to have a decent, quality food to eat at a restaurant. So let's talk a little bit about the cost of buying food at the grocery store. In this case, I tend to buy food from the mall, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But you could buy a pack of pre-cut mangoes for like $1 or $2, and you get like 10 medium-sized, slice cuts for your mango. They're pre-cut. You don't have to cut anything. You don't have to peel it. You just eat it. So very, very cheap for the mangoes. Now, if you bought that outside of the mall, you're comfortable buying your food from a street vendor, which I bought food from street vendors before, but it's very rare that I buy food from street vendors. Not that there's anything wrong with buying from them, but I tend to just go to the mall. That's where I feel more comfortable going. But if you buy food from the street vendor, you could buy, for example, one mango for, like the equivalent of maybe 25 cents for US currency. You could buy a medium-sized mango. So very, very cheap. So I don't really see any reason why you would have a issue with the expensive staying in the Philippines, because it's very cheap in terms of your food costs and even your housing costs. And actually, let's go back into the housing costs. If you talk about electricity, for example, I might run an AC unit for, every day for a whole month. And I typically do that. And I might have the lights on for long durations each day. I might have a fan running. Right now, I don't have it running because, I don't want the fan to interfere with the audio quality that you guys might hear. So that's the reason I'm sweating right now, because there is no cooling happening for me right now. I just want to make sure you guys have the best quality experience with hearing me. Although this is being recorded on the iPhone, so don't expect, super extreme, incredible quality audio. But it should be decent enough where you can hear me and get the important information that you want. So let's talk a little bit more about the cost. If you want to deal with transportation, for example, you could catch a jeepney, which I would only recommend that for the experience. If you get on a jeepney, you're going to be crammed in with like 12 people on one, jeepney. It's going to be hot. You're probably going to be sweating like I'm sweating right now. It's not going to be the most fun experience for you. You're going to be smelling the fumes of other vehicles that pass you. You're going to smell that. It's going to stink. You probably won't like it so much. But if it's your, something you want to do for the first time, just for an experience, you could try it out. And I think you might like it. Or some of you might just want to ride on it every day. Maybe you okay with that. But there is no AC on the jeepney. Another mode of transportation for a short distance is the tricycle. Now, the thing about the tricycle is, it's usually only one or two people on there with you, if there are any other people. And there's two types of tricycles. You have the motorized bike, where they'll drive you somewhere, and then you have the regular bike where they'll paddle like a bicycle or something like that. But in both cases, it's very cheap. It only costs you usually a few pennies in terms of U.S. currency to ride either the jeepney or riding on the motorized bike, which is also a tricycle too, but it's just a motorized version. So in both cases, those are very cheap, and those are for shorter distance travel. If you want to catch a taxi, the taxi will start off at like $1 when you first get in. And then, I've traveled as far as maybe, 30 minutes or maybe an hour. I've been in a taxi. And, in all those cases, I probably never paid more than, $5, maybe $6. So even if you're traveling by taxi, it's not too expensive. So those are some examples of your costs for traveling. But let's talk about some costs that would be more expensive than in the U.S. If you're paying for internet, expect to pay a whole lot for a little bit of nothing. I've paid as much as $35 a month for just a few megabits, for speed. Very, very slow speeds. In the U.S., I paid $40 and I got like 60 megabits a second for my internet speed. So huge difference in terms of the cost. Now, if you shop around, you might be able to find a better deal. But at least for me, for right now, that is not a very good deal. It's very expensive for what you get. Electronics. If you're buying any kind of laptops, phones, tablets, expect to pay a huge markup price for old technology. I mean, if you want to buy an Intel CPU, Pentium, type of laptop or desktop, you can find that here in the Philippines. I'm talking about the old ones too, and you're paying, top dollar for this old technology. If you try to buy it and have it shipped from the U.S., expect to pay an extreme high amount for getting it imported. And I'm talking about 200-300% markup. At least that's what I've read in terms of how you get treated at the customs. So if you're getting something shipped here, I would highly recommend you do not. And also, you might get in a situation where they will try to extort money from you. I've heard things about that. So I haven't even tried, because I don't even want to risk that happening, being asked to give somebody money on top of a device that's going to already be pushed way up in terms of cost because of the extremely high customs cost to import a product into the Philippines. But I can deal with telling you some things you can do to help yourself get some devices without having to get anything imported or something like that. But it's not perfect, but we'll leave that for another video and talk about some things you can do to still get some decent technology for not extremely high costs locally. But those are my examples of the cost of living in the Philippines. There may be some other things that you want to talk about in terms of cost, but those are the things that I can think off of the top of my head that might be really important for you. So if this video was helpful, definitely let me know. Definitely make sure you leave a comment and let me know if you want to see future videos, and I'll do my best to produce more videos for you through Michael's vlog, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Have a great day.